Ashley Josephine here. Welcome to the second installment of A Pose for Your Woes series, and today we are focusing on the lower back. Lower back pain is extremely common. You can check out some of the stats that I wrote in the blog post that goes along with this video back on ashleyjosephine.com. They're pretty crazy and they surprised even me. And I know, based on teaching, that low back is one of the most commonly requested areas of the body to work on when I'm teaching my classes and my private clients. So let's get right into it and I'll talk you through it as we go through the poses. Let's start in a tabletop position on your hands and your knees with your hands directly underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. And we'll begin with cat-cow, which is a really nice way to warm up the spine. Cow pose, you drop your belly and lift your chest, find an arch in the spine. Cat pose, you round your spine, gaze back towards your legs. And the more you press into your palms and your shins, the more you'll get a stretch into your upper back. And you can follow your breath back and forth. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. So you can keep going here back and forth. This is a nice way to warm up your spine before you get started with a yoga practice that might be a little bit longer. This is a great stretch to do at the very beginning of the day or the very end of the day. And if you experience any type of low back pain, you're putting your spine in flexion and extension here. Two of the directions of movement of the spine. This is a nice way to lubricate the joints and get some movement flowing through your back. So from here, the next time you come up into your cat pose, sink your hips back towards your heels, towards a child's pose. Bring your forehead down to the ground, and then on your next inhale, you'll come back up to tabletop and take a mini cow. So spread your collarbones wide, not quite a full extension or arch of your spine, and then round your spine. As you round, sink your hips back towards your heels, child's pose, and follow your breath back and forth like this. So now as we move into child's pose, we continue to elongate and lengthen the spine. You get a little stretch through the sides of the body, through the shoulders and the arms. You're beginning to stretch out your hips as well. So one of the things about low back pain is that we have to look at our posture, not only in our yoga poses, but also in our daily life to see if that could be contributing to some of the pain we might be experiencing. And moving our spine through these different directions of movement really helps us to see where we have misalignments or asymmetry in the body. So as we start to notice places in the body that feel extra tight, maybe in your shoulders or a certain part of your back, you can take that information with you into your daily life and see if you can notice where that tension might be coming from. Good, so next time you come into your child's pose, stay here, take a deep breath in, and a deep breath out. Of course, you can stay here as long as you'd like, maybe 5 or 10 breaths to really get a nice stretch in your spine and in your hips. And then we'll come up next into a forward fold. So come up onto your feet. Bring your feet about hip distance apart, maybe even a little bit wider. And relax your head and your neck down towards the ground. So allow your neck to really hang low here. And then you'll need to bend your knees a lot if your hamstrings are really tight. The more you bend your knees, the more you'll feel a stretch in your low back. The more you straighten your legs, the more you'll probably feel the stretch in your hamstrings unless your hamstrings are really loose. But I really want you to find this stretch in your low back, so that might mean that your knees are really, really bent. And that's totally okay. This forward fold is all about releasing tension in your lower back. And you can sway side to side and start to feel into those spots that you might be experiencing more tension. Make sure that everything stays loose. Take a breath in and a breath out. The longer you stay here, the more you'll benefit from the pose. But I'm going to keep moving along. Inhale, reach your arms up overhead. And as you reach your arms up overhead, lift up through your chest. Now notice, lifting up through your chest is different than bending through your low back. So I see a lot of people do back bends like this, which may or may not feel good in your spine. It does not feel good in mine. But what I'm really looking for when I have you do what I'm going to call a back bend is an axial extension of the thoracic spine, which means we're lengthening through the thoracic spine and pulling the lower back away from the upper back. That doesn't crack the spine backwards, but it just lengthens gently to give an overall elongation of the upper back.
And then come all the way up and we'll do a side bend. So reach your right hand down and lift your left fingertips up and over. Pay particular attention to the alignment of your shoulders. Oftentimes that top shoulder likes to curl forward, so take it back and pull the bottom shoulder slightly forward. You'll get an even bigger stretch in your side body. Reach your arm up overhead and then side bend to the other side. Breathe into your rib cage. See if you can create more space into the sides of your ribs as you breathe. And remember, watch the alignment of your shoulders. Make sure they line up with your hip points. Take a breath in and a breath out. And then rise all the way up and come all the way down into your fold. Then come to a halfway lift. Put your hands on your shins or your thighs and reach your heart forward until you come to a neutral spine. That's going to look different for everyone. You might have your hands all the way up here. Maybe you can keep your hands on the ground depending on the hamstring flexibility. But you want to feel this lengthening of the spine forward so you have the natural curvature of your spine. Take a breath in. By the way, that requires some use of core muscles to find that elongation. And then plant your hands down to the ground. Step back onto your hands and your knees. Then we'll lower all the way down onto your belly for a Cobra pose. Now, Cobra pose is another back bend. It's called a back bend, but really this variation of Cobra is a back strengthener. Now, strengthening your back is really important because over time, as you strengthen your back will be healthier and it will be harder for you to injure your back. But back strengthening sometimes is hard for people who suffer from low back injuries or any chronic pain because they're afraid that back bending or back strengthening exercises will hurt their back. That may or may not be true for you. It totally depends on the type of back pain that you're experiencing and why you're experiencing it. But I want to offer up this exercise if you feel comfortable doing it, and especially the way that I cue it. I want you to pay attention to that. I want you to practice this if it works for you because it will help you strengthen your back, and a strong back is a much healthier back. It will sustain you for much longer than a weak back. So your palms will be underneath your shoulders and the tops of your feet will press down into the ground. Point your elbows up towards the ceiling. And you'll inhale, lift your chest up, and then hover your palms up off the ground. So there's actually no weight in your hands at all. Pull the elbows in towards each other so you spread across your collarbones, and you're using the muscles in your back to lift your chest up. Now that probably means that your chest is not going to lift that high up off the ground, and that is totally okay. We're not looking for height here. We're just looking for an engagement of the muscles along the spine. And then lower down, and you can do this 3 or 4 times. On your inhale, rise up, squeeze the elbows in towards each other. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, rise up. Press the tops of your feet into the ground as much as you can. They might want to lift up. I want you to resist that as much as you can. And then lower down. And one more time, lift up, squeeze the elbows, press the feet down. Make sure your gaze stays down so your neck stays long. And then lower down to the ground. Now come up to a tabletop position. Onto your butt, take a seat, and we'll do a forward fold to counteract the extension that we just did in the spine. So take your right leg out in front of you, the sole of your left foot on your right thigh. Lengthen through your spine, grow tall, and then fold forward over your right leg. Grab hold of whatever you can reach. It does not have to be your toes. If your hamstrings are super tight, bend your knee as much as you need. Every inhale, feel the spine lengthening forward. Every exhale, hinge from your hips just a little bit more. It might be very subtle movement, and that's totally okay. You can stay here as long as this feels good. I always recommend 10 breaths is a nice place to set a goal. Long enough that you'll actually receive benefits, but short enough that it doesn't feel like it's going to go on forever. And then inhale, rise up, and switch sides. Bring the sole of your right foot to the inside of your left foot. It's helpful to turn your torso to face towards your straight leg. Lengthen the spine first before you start so that you know you're starting from a neutral position, and then fold forward and grab whatever you can reach. Flex your toes back towards your face. You'll feel even more of a stretch in your hamstrings. And bend your knee as much as you need, again, so that you can really feel some of the stretch in your low back. You'll feel this side particularly on the right, or the opposite side of the leg that is forward. Take another breath in and a breath out. So now we'll come up and lie down onto your back. Move slowly and with control so that you're protecting your back as you transition. Pull your knees into your chest and give them a nice squeeze. We'll end with a twist. Drop your knees over to your left. Be careful as you take the knees down. Reach your right arm over towards the right. You can gaze over your right fingertips, or you can keep your gaze straight up. As you breathe, feel your breath expand into your low back and feel the stretch that you experience in your low back here. This is the simplest or the easiest version of a twist. You can also take a one-legged version, or you can cross the legs in an eagle version. If you know what that is, that would be a more intense level of a twist. Then inhale, rise up. Pull your knees in to center. This will help neutralize the spine. And then take the legs over towards the right. Again, slowly as you move down with control from the core so that we're not banging our way into the twist and damaging or hurting our spine even more. Gaze out over your left fingertips or straight up, whatever feels most comfortable on your neck. And remember to breathe. Breathing helps us create more space in the body, which creates more space in the joint and in the spine. Take another breath in here. Again, stay as long as you'd like. Ideally, the same amount on each side, so we keep as much symmetry as we can. Bring your legs back up to center. Pull your knees into your chest one last time. And then plant your feet down on the ground and come into your final Shavasana. Now for Shavasana, typically the legs are long and we allow ourselves to fully rest. But for some people that experience low back pain, that does not feel comfortable in our low back. So I offer up a couple of modifications that you can use here. You can keep the soles of your feet on the ground. We call this Ardha Shavasana or half Shavasana. I like the version where I bring my feet out wide and pull the knees in towards each other. This helps you neutralize the spine and it feels really nice. And you could do any other variation. Legs up the wall is really nice for the low back if you're able to scoot on up next to a wall so you can rest your legs against the wall. That's a nice way to rest. And you could even keep your knees pulled in towards your chest. This is a little bit more active, but for some people, they enjoy this stretch, and you could stay here for 10 breaths and let that be your Shavasana. There's tons of options for you here, so find what feels best and most relaxing for your spine. Take a big breath in. I highly recommend you stay here for at least 10 breaths, if not more, and really let yourself sink into your rest, into your body, into the stretching that you've done, into your breath. And as you're ready, roll over onto one side, bring yourself up to a comfortable seat. Take a moment to become aware of how your spine feels. Take a breath in and feel your spine lengthen. Bring your hands together at heart center. The light and wisdom within me honors and acknowledges the light and wisdom within you. Thank you for joining me for this low back practice. I hope your back feels better than it did when you started. Continue to practice, continue to breathe, and I'll see you again soon. Namaste.